Hey everybody, it's Michelle here with Next Chapter Counseling. I got a question recently from somebody and they asked me, Michelle, I'm currently in the dating scene and I'm pretty aware of what my red flags are when it comes to a relationship, but what are some green flags, so to speak? What are some things that I should be looking for? And this is a great way to kind of rephrase how you might be thinking about what you're looking for when dating. It's really easy to think about, well, I know that I don't want this and I know that I don't want that, and these are the things that I should be avoiding. But what that can lead to sometimes is that when you do find somebody, you can just kind of constantly be on the lookout for the warning signs, for the red flags, for the things that could be a sign that something could be off or wrong here, rather than trying to shift your thinking so that you're actually figuring out what you want to go towards rather than just what you want to run away from. So this is an awesome question to ask. I'm super excited to answer it. And the same thing with red flags. Red flags can be really unique and different for each person. What, might be a red flag for one person might not bother another. So it's the same thing with green flags. What may really be attractive or enticing to one person, another person may not care about at all. So, take some time to really think about what some green flags are for you, as we'll put it, after this video is done. But I am going to take some time when answering this question to name what I think are three big, kind of universal green flags that are great things to be on the lookout for when you're dating someone. Also have a bit of a cold, so I may be coughing in the middle of this video. So the first thing that I recommend being on the lookout for is noticing how someone listens to you and trying to find somebody who is a good listener. Listening is a lot harder than people think it is, because listening is about a lot more than just hearing the words that someone is saying. Listening is very nonverbal. A person gives a lot of signals of whether they're listening to you or not by their body language. Listening is about understanding what's at the heart of the issue, or like the big picture that a person's talking about, and kind of being able to read between the lines. And also, someone who's listening really well, they're going to be able to remember later what you said. Someone's probably not doing a very good job of listening if 5 minutes later it's all wiped from their brain what you were talking about. So find somebody who shows you with their body language, with their memory later on of what you said, with their ability to kind of maybe show you through, like, I don't know, like summarizing or like paraphrasing back to you like what they heard, that they're really getting it and understanding what you're trying to convey. Those are all big green flags that you're finding somebody who is respectful and interested in you. So find somebody who is a good listener. Believe it or not, they are pretty rare, because like I said, a lot of people think they're good listeners and they're really not. So try to find somebody who is by looking for some of those little cues and how they're listening to you. And the next green flag that I would recommend that you look for is somebody who can manage stress well. Sometimes it could take a little while to get to know this about a person. You kind of see this over time, whether someone's good at managing stress or whether they're not. But you want to be able to find somebody. There's two components to this, really. You want to be able to find somebody who, A, is willing to talk about what's stressful for them, and B, have coping skills for when they're stressed. And don't get me wrong, I get it. We're all human. We're all flawed. We all have times of getting frustrated and not managing our stress very well. But I don't know, you want to find somebody who probably like 80% of the time like manages their stress pretty okay in a healthy way. So I just kind of touched on some of the components of that. So finding someone who can talk about it with you is huge. It's really common for people to just kind of shut down and withdraw when they're feeling stressed. But if you can find somebody who will come home, and rather to just be like, yep, I had a bad day at work, and they'll like not say anything else, who will sit down with you and be like, yeah, this thing happened today and that thing happened today, and who will really let you in, because that's a way for a strong partnership to build connection, is when one of you or both of you have had hard days, to be able and willing to share that with the other person rather than just like shutting them out and trying to deal with it on your own. So find someone who's willing to talk about it with you. And then I also mentioned someone having coping skills for their stress, healthy coping skills. Lots of people cope with stress in unhealthy ways. But finding somebody who they can know and be able to like tell you, oh yeah, when I get stressed, this is what I do to help myself get through it. Whatever that may be, you want to find somebody who can have that self-awareness, who could say something like, oh, hey, yep, I had a hard day, I'm going to go for a run for 20 minutes, and then they come back and then they feel a lot better, or whatever it may be for them. Somebody who knows, when I do this, it makes my stress better, and that thing that they do is a healthy thing. Lots of people don't have that self-awareness, so those would be green flags too. There's kind of two pieces to that one, but finding somebody who can talk about their stress with you and who has good coping skills in place for it. That's a big green flag. And the last one that I'm going to talk about in this video is finding somebody who is able and willing to get into the messy stuff with you. And I call it messy stuff sometimes, but what I really mean is finding somebody who's able and willing to share with you those parts of themselves that they feel ashamed about, or the parts that are really vulnerable. We all have things that we've gone through, either currently or in our past, where it's really difficult to talk about things that have maybe been traumatic or have really impacted us negatively, things that you maybe have never shared with anybody or only shared with a few close people. You want to find somebody who wants to know those parts of you and who will keep those parts of you safe, and somebody who's willing to share those parts of them with you and trust that you can keep those parts safe. So again, this can take a little time to get to in a relationship, but when you find somebody who's willing to get there with you, who's willing to share with you the really messy stuff, that's a sign that they really trust you. And this can be a beautiful opportunity for you guys to get closer as a couple, and for you guys to both start to feel safe with one another and being able to talk about those things. You would be surprised how many people never get there with a partner. There are some couples out there, they've been married for, decades, and they say, yep, I don't know much about my partner's past in that regard, because they've never gotten to that point of sharing it. And again, it's okay if there are still some things that you're not willing to share with anybody. That's okay. It doesn't mean you have to share everything, but being able to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and start sharing some of it. You want to find a partner who's willing to do that with you, and who you feel safe enough to do that with in return. So just to recap, the 3 green flags that I really recommend being on the lookout for: finding somebody who listens well, finding somebody who will talk about and know how to cope with their stress when they are feeling stressed out about something, and finding somebody who will keep the vulnerable parts of you safe and who will be vulnerable with you in return. If you can find those things in someone, that relationship could have huge potential for being a success. So those are some things I recommend, kind of keeping your eyes open for as you're dating and getting to know people along the way, of seeing who has those green flags and then seeing who maybe doesn't. If you have a question for me, email it to me, nextchapter.michelle@gmail.com, and I'll be back soon with another video. Thanks, everybody.